Hello, I am Ellie and this is my sidekick Dobby. Say hi. So today I am dressed for the pool because I am discussing summer days and summer nights. This is the second anthology created and edited by Stephanie Perkins, and both of them have 12 stories in them by different authors, and Stephanie Perkins writes in both of them. And I am kind of going to go through. I'm going to use my Goodreads account, which I just wrote stars for each one to help me remember and go through each of the stories. I am going to say some of my favorites. First of all, the authors in this book are, and I apologize if I butcher any names, I don't know all of these authors: Leigh Bardugo, Francesca, Leah Block, Libba Bray, Cassandra Clare, Brandy Colbert, Tim Federle, Grossman, LaCour, Stephanie Perkins, Veronica Roth, John Skovron, and Jennifer E. Smith. Again, I'm sorry if any of those names were wrong, as I'm sure some of them were. Overall, I really did enjoy this book, and I think I enjoyed it more than the previous one, which took place in the winter holiday season. Those ones, I got the feeling that they weren't as complete stories. They seemed like the start of wonderful stories, but they weren't quite enough for me, and I didn't get that feeling as much with this, but I will get into that more as I talk about each one. I will go into spoilers for these, so I'm sorry. I'll put a list below of my ratings for each one, in case you just want to check that out. I didn't think I was going to go into spoilers for this, but as I'm starting to talk, I realized that I am, and I'm not putting a spoiler warning. So, just, if you want to know just my stars ratings, look down below, or check out my Goodreads. If you've already read it, you can hear my full thoughts. Okay, cool. First up, we have Head, Scales, Tongue, Tail by Leigh Bardugo. Now, I love Leigh Bardugo. I love everything I've ever read of hers, and I think I've read everything she's written. It's weird. I'm not that much of a fantasy reader, and yet most of the stuff that I love the most are fantasy, but I think I need to be really, really invested in a story that's fantasy to fully enjoy it. So I did like this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is good. It was not one of my very favorites, but as I love all of Leigh's writing, the writing was really good. The story kept me interested. This one was one of those ones where it just wasn't quite there for me, but I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it enough to give it 4 stars when I did not give everything 4 stars, so that's something. That one was about a girl who is a little bit lonely over the summer because her friends from school live in a different town, and she meets this guy who she kind of knew, but he was kind of a little weird, but she starts hanging out with him, and all of a sudden he becomes what her summer is about. And then turns out there's something a little bit strange about him, but that's okay. There is a fantastic aspect of it which didn't quite pull me in the way some of the other stories did, but 4 out of 5 stars ain't too shabby. Next up, we have The End of Love by LaCour. I gave that one 3.5 stars. This one is about a girl who goes to summer school and meets up with this group of people that she had been friends with when she was dating her ex-boyfriend, but kind of lost contact with. And there's a girl there that she actually had this really big crush on, but didn't act on it at the time. But now she has an opportunity to hang out with this group of people that she wanted to be friends with before, and maybe something would happen between that girl. This is one where I really liked where it was going, but this one did fall a little bit short because of how short the story was. I think this one did have potential to be a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic story, but I needed more. And that is why that one's only 3.5 stars. But I love the characters, but it didn't fulfill what I was hoping it would. Next we have Last Stand at the Cinegore by Libba Bray. This was one of those ones where it was just a little bit too unreal for me. It wasn't a long enough story to fully get into the characters, but it also wasn't very realistic. It was about a boy who has had a crush on this girl that he works with forever, and it was the last day at this big movie theater where they only show horror movies. And the owner of the theater is this guy who nobody really knows if he actually exists. They just get the paychecks, and they're showing this movie that's supposed to be haunted. And it's not shown very often. There's only this one copy that still exists, and it's supposed to open a portal to hell, and everybody that worked on the movie died mysteriously. So of course everything happens when this movie shows. People turn into zombies and whatever. It's crazy. Obviously I did love the interaction between the two main characters, but this one was a little bit too much for me with the unrealistic. Next up we have Sick Pleasure by Francesca Leigh. This one I only gave 2 stars, which is the lowest I really ever gave anything. This one was about a girl who is at this place with her friends, and she meets this guy, and she instantly knows she really likes him, and they hit it off, and then something goes wrong, and then it's just kind of over after that. She's not willing to put in the effort to like try to make it work out with this guy, and she ends up going and sleeping with somebody else and is just done with it. And at the end she's even like, maybe I'll see him again, maybe I won't, maybe one day he'll read this, and maybe he won't. It left me very unsatisfied, and I was kind of disappointed by the lack of effort. So that's why that one was only 2 stars. Of course, that one was directly followed by In 90 Minutes Turn North by Stephanie Perkins, which I gave 5 stars to. This one revisits the characters from the first one, Marigold and North. If you don't remember, or if you didn't read it, in the first one, we meet this cartoonist named Marigold who hears the voice of this guy that works at a place that sells Christmas trees, and she is obsessed with his voice and wants him to voice a character that she made. So she ends up buying a Christmas tree just to talk to him, and he has to bring the Christmas tree to her house, and he ends up rearranging her whole house and helping her, and they hit it off, and it's great. In this one, it turns out they broke up when she decided to go to college because of the long distance thing, and now she is going back to try to save him and bring him with her and make him go to college and be a different person, basically. And this story was so cute. He ends up working somewhere else. He's not working at the tree farm anymore. He's working on a mountain, and she has to ride the mountain up, and he's a tour guide, and she's on his train, and they meet eyes, and it's so cute. And then she tells him that she wants him to come with her and be her roommate, and he's like, I don't want to be your roommate. And it makes her realize that she still has feelings for him, and then they go and they have this big public thing. It's adorable. It's really adorable. Yeah, that's in my top 2 for this book. I love Stephanie Perkins. I love this story. It was wonderful. Next was Souvenirs by Tim Federle. I don't know how to pronounce that name, and I'm sorry. So Souvenirs is about a guy who works at an amusement park, and he's worked there for a couple years, and he has been secretly, or maybe not so secretly, dating another guy that works at the amusement park. And it's the last day of the park, and it's called Breakup Day, because from the beginning of their pseudo relationship, they decided they were going to break up on that day because they're going to be separated and don't want to deal with going to college and cheating on each other, and so they're just going to break up at the end of the summer. So it is that day, and their interactions are actually really cute, and I don't know, I didn't love this one. I'm a sucker for happy endings, so the ones without happy endings are just not my thing. This one I gave 3 stars. Throughout it, I kept thinking that they weren't actually going to break up, that they were going to work through it and make it work, but that didn't happen. They did break up. It was a little bittersweet, but not enough to make it worth the not happy ending. The main character gets like a best boyfriend present, but they're still breaking up. So, yeah, 3 stars. I couldn't do more than that. I like happy endings. Give me a happy ending. I want a happy ending. Next up was Inertia by Veronica Roth. Now this one was very Veronica Roth, and I mean that in a good way. I gave it 4 stars. It was about a girl, her old best friend, who she hasn't really been friends with recently, gets in a car accident. And the story starts with her waking up and finding out late at night that he wants her to come to the hospital and do this like last ceremony thing where in this, I guess it's a futuristic society, anytime somebody's about to die, other people actually go into their head and can share some memories with them. They can be aware that it's this memory system, and I guess you can only have 2 people that do it, so this guy chooses her and his mother, and they can interact in the memory. So you can either kind of sit there and relive through it, but then you can also interact and discuss. So her job is to experience these memories with him and also explain to him what's happening. So she goes and they live through the memories, and during the memories, they realize that they're kind of in love with each other. So he does survive, and she comes to his bedside. He's still in the hospital, but she comes over and he's getting better, and she basically lets him know that they can be together and they can be happy. So that one was really cute. 4 stars. Next up was Love is the Last Resort by John Skovron. This one I gave 4.5 stars. It's told from 2 different perspectives, kind of, and it's from 2 people that work in a resort. One has worked there for years and is kind of the go-to, get everything done, always in charge type of girl. And the other it's his first year there. He's been kicked out of a bunch of schools and places, and her complete opposite. They get there and decide that they want to set up these 2 members of the resort who have clearly been in love for years and both been talking to people about the fact that they were in love with each other for years, but never talking to each other about it. So they make this whole elaborate plan to get them together and also to get the manager of the resort with this guy that has clearly been in love with him, and it's a similar situation. Meanwhile, the 2 of them are falling in love. It's really cute. This one was definitely one of my favorites. The one thing stopping me from giving it 5 stars was some of the interaction was a little bit weird. The way they got from one place to another, or the way they would like move in closer to each other, or the way they would finally kiss was just described in a weird way to me that I wasn't really feeling that writing style. And I don't know if it was just the fact it was written by a guy and I'm so used to reading books written by females and it's just the way it was written in that way, or if it was just this specific writer or these characters. I don't know, but that was the one thing holding it back from 5 stars, because I love the story. There was just a little bit of awkward writing that couldn't let me give it 5 stars. Next up, we have Good Luck and Farewell by Brandy Colbert, and I gave that one 4 stars. This one is about a girl who Didn't have the easiest life growing up. Her mom died, and she was basically raised by her cousin. And her cousin is now moving away to live with her girlfriend, which should be all happy, but the main character is very upset to be losing her cousin, this person that has basically been her mother for the past several years. In doing so, she ends up meeting the girlfriend's brother, who she calls a brother because they're in a similar situation where she has kind of taken him in, and they hit it off in taking care of the girlfriend when she gets way too drunk to be at this big going away party with the family. So they go deal with her, end up hitting it off. It's cute, a strong 4 stars, not enough to be 5 stars. It was just not quite as, I don't know, I wasn't gushing over it, but it definitely was a cute story. Next up, we have Brand New Attraction by Cassandra Clare. Now this one, like I said about the Veronica Roth one, was very Cassandra Clare. There were demons and magic, disappearing parents, and crazy insanity, and everything Cassandra Clare has in a story, except, well, there were no shadow hunters. This one is about a girl that grew up in a dark carnival, which basically means it's a carnival where everything is kind of scary and spooky. So they only have creepy clowns and those creepy mirror things that show you like old and young and crazy, crazy things. Anyway, her father disappeared a little bit ago, and now they're going out of business, but her uncle shows up to save the day. And it turns out her uncle is kind of evil, and he comes with a stepson. And she falls for the non-cousin guy, which is a little bit creepy. But turns out that the uncle had been keeping both her father and his mother hostage in the mirrors. But they end up fighting back and fixing it. And I was actually kind of expecting I guess it would be like the step-cousin. I was expecting the step-cousin to turn out to be evil, but he didn't, so it had more of a happy ending than I was expecting. The one time I'm not expecting a happy ending. Boom. Happy ending. But it was a cute story. Again, a little bit too fantastical and unrealistic for the length that it is. I couldn't fully get into the characters enough to appreciate that. But 4 stars. I do love Cassandra Clare's writing. But, I mean, most of her series are like 6 books, so it wasn't quite that. Next up, we have 1,000 Ways This Could All Go Wrong by Jennifer E. Smith. This one I gave 5 stars. I loved this story. This one was about a girl who is a camp counselor, but there's also this guy that she's had a crush on all year. He's really quiet, really reserved, and as much as she tries to talk to him, he was never talking back. He never really talked to anybody. And she sees him at the supermarket one day and asks him to go out, and he agrees. So he's supposed to meet her at camp. Meanwhile, there's this camper that's autistic, and she has to learn how to deal with that. Turns out the guy is also autistic, so he figures out how to talk to this camper, and she's so impressed by that. And when it finally comes out that he's autistic, he's expecting it to mean that she's not going to want to date him again and it's over. And it doesn't mean like that, because she's like, it doesn't change anything. I like you for who you are, and just because you now have a label to me doesn't mean I like you any differently. So it's interesting because they do need to learn how to interact with each other, and it means both of them doing things a little bit different than they would expect to. But it's really cute. It's showing that even people that aren't quote-unquote normal have a lot to offer and can be individuals and functioning members of society. And it was so cute and so great, and I adored that story. It was wonderful. Okay. I can't gush about that one enough. It was so cute. Okay, I'm moving on. Finally, we have the Map of Tiny Perfect Things by Grossman. This one I gave 4.5 stars. And this one was really cute too. It was a little bit of like Groundhog Day. The main character starts off saying it's been, I think, August 4th for weeks. And sometimes he would spend time at the library or the pool, trying to get out of the house, because there was always fighting at the house. He would always see the same people doing the same things, and he could predict when everything was going to happen because he's lived through the same day over and over and over and over again. But one August 4th, he sees this girl at the pool who's not normally there. And it turns out she is also living that day over and over with him. They find these perfect moments and they make a map of it. And it turns out it's creating this big thing. Long story short, they start to fall for each other, but she is terrified because it turns out it's because of her that they've been having these moments over and over, and I don't want to get into too much because if you haven't read it yet and you've been watching this video when you shouldn't have, this is not a story I want to give away exactly what's going on in. But it's really cute, and this one is a bittersweet one, but a really cute bittersweet one, and this one was definitely worth the bittersweet of it. Yeah, that one was definitely one of my favorites. Overall, there were 2 I gave 5 stars to. Those were In 90 Minutes Turn North by Stephanie Perkins and 1,000 Ways This Could All Go Wrong by Jennifer E. Smith. I had 1 4.5 stars, which was The Map of Tiny Perfect Things by Grossman. Oh no, and Love is the Last Resort by John Skovron. Those were both 4.5. I had 3 4 stars, 1 3.5 stars, 2 3 stars, and 1 2 stars. Overall, I do think it was better than the last one. I'm hoping that Stephanie Perkins will continue putting these anthologies together because they are a lot of fun, and I love seeing some of my favorite authors come together, and I wonder who she'll include in the next one. That's it for today. This is definitely a good summer read, and I will see you next time.